Good afternoon. My name is Jan Stephen Kavanagh. I am the author of Age of Peace 250. You can learn more about me at AgeOfPeace250.com. My purpose this afternoon on this video is to tell you about a peace essay contest that I entered and still is being judged by a bunch of PhDs. And so I put it on the net for your consideration. I will read it to you here, and then afterwards you can go on my website at AgeOfPeace250.com, and you'll see on the home page, Peace Essay, Age of Peace, Peace Essay, Law-Based Civilization. Click on that, and then you can make your comments as well. There's about a number of comments already which are kind of interesting. Anyways, to get on with the business, very simply stated, I need your feedback. Or rather, the essay needs your feedback for the sake of your grandchildren. This peace essay contest is sponsored by the West Suburban Peace Coalition Glen Ellen, Illinois group. It's an annual thing. I've entered before and won a couple of times, but never first prize. This time it's $1,000. And so what I offer is a blueprint to Age of Peace in 600 words to the question, how to foster peace in a nation and world in perpetual warfare. Certainly a very relevant question for the time we live in. And then, as I said, after saying it here, you can go on my website and make comments if you want. So to begin, the question before us is how to foster peace in a nation and world in perpetual warfare. I think it's a fair description of human history. Problem, perpetual warfare, we can see that. The issue underlying that, of course, is we're a war-based civilization. War is the default position in settling conflict. The solution, the obviously intuitive solution, is a law-based civilization. I live in a peaceful neighborhood. Hopefully, to God, many of you do as well. And when you don't, you know the difference, because law prevails. And all we're talking about is taking that to a global level. States' rights to the global level, as I like to call it. And of course, a law-based civilization becomes perpetual peace, and the term perpetual peace is deliberately taken from the philosophy works of Immanuel Kant, who in fact, in his book, Perpetual Peace, lays out the foundation for a law-based civilization. He just puts more words to it, philosophical words to it. Now, the obstacles to peace are not mostly economic and political, although they are those too, but mostly they are distrust, I'll say more about that, disbelief, lack of imagination, lack of will, lack of money, that such a thing is possible. Perspective, resolving this question in the 21st century, is the Constitution Project Gandhi prescribed to solve for peace on Earth. A Manhattan Project in size, money, and brain power to enforce the law against war, to tell that story. Our great-grandchildren, 22nd century, will thank us. Imagine and build, that's my challenge to us all. We the people, planet Earth, in order to form a more perfect union, to establish justice, to ensure planet Earth tranquility, etc., etc. Where have you heard those before? The beautiful words to the preamble of our Constitution. Gandhi taking that to the global level. In that sense, we are a special nation. Take our idea to the global level, we can really, really be a phenomenal people on Earth. The hope, of course, always hope, fulfillment in justice. Now, to a subject that try not to let it scare you when I use the word, what I call the metaphysics of peace. Fundamentally, we have to talk about the metaphysics of peace before we can have peace on earth. And the first part of that metaphysics is the calculus, the calculation that we use to arrive at that. And so we rely upon the science of mathematics as an analogy here, although my guess is there's people familiar with calculus who probably be able to put numbers to what I'm saying. The calculus is the relationship of the part, in this case, the nation, to the whole, in this case, the world, and our task is to solve for peace. It is a law of nature, if I can just philosophize for a second or two, it is a law of nature that parts interact with the whole to achieve greater wholeness. I think that's a well-known principle. It's true for marriage, as we all know and have experienced. It was true for the 13 colonies, and it is true to foster peace in a nation and world. And as always so in the human story, or we are not human, the resistance to doing something new, mostly out of fear that it might make things worse. We talk about these things in therapy. As does happen when we ignore injustice. Again, the Old Testament, which I read, is filled with this wisdom. In 2025 Gregorian time, planet Earth humanity is in late adolescence. Although as a colleague of mine, many years standing, Andrew, you can read his comments in the comments on the website, thinks it's probably mid-adolescence, which scares me even more. Should scare us all even more. There is growing doubt we, quote unquote, the wise species, will survive to maturity in justice. We're all familiar with the check engine light in car, and what does it mean when it comes on? What we can say here, not just as metaphor, but as truth, the 2050 check engine light blinking red for planet Earth, mostly ignored. If we look deep into the engine, whether we choose an organic or a mechanical understanding of what's going on, the numbers are dreadful. The answer, justice, grounded in the great myths, a la Campbell and the great religions, about human fulfillment given by the heavens. The application of and conversation about those stories of justice are all part of justice blossoming in due time. The headline, Planet Earth humanity votes to build a law-based civilization. We have the power to do it at our fingertips. There is great progress in making international laws and building world courts. Look it up on the Google. And note that in 2017, humanity backed away from taking the next step in that. That's a whole other story. A story worth paying attention to. And therein the rub, nation, the part, refusing to interact with the whole, world court. We see it in the news in horrific ways. Nation defending war as the default position in settling human conflict, and barbarically so, in present times as in biblical times. Hence, perpetual warfare. The idea of a law-based civilization, according to the research I've done, in terms of how human beings feel about ending war, runs headlong into deep skepticism amongst the general public that such a thing is possible. And then you wonder, is this concept beneficial? Some people were downright hostile to the idea of ending war. and justifiably so if you look at it from their perspective. That's not the only perspective. Therefore, they have a deep-seated belief in most that war always bests law in a jousting contest. And war, therefore, is inevitable. That's a fundamental belief in most people. What I call war-conscious dominance. Trusting war to keep us safe in our beds at night. That's what it comes down to. In solving for peace, we run headlong into a conundrum. The very medicine the organism needs for wholeness is the very medicine resistant, not an unusual problem in human development, whatever the discipline, as we all know. Analysis. Until the relationship of nation to world now set to solve for war is rectified, it is not possible to foster peace in a nation and world. Is planet Earth humanity doomed to be a war-based civilization? If you look at the movies in Hollywood, you'd swear so, with a couple exceptions. So until the relationship of nation to world now set to war is rectified, it is not possible to foster peace in a nation and world. It's important to reflect very deeply upon this, because the question arises, is planet Earth humanity doomed to be a war-based civilization, as I said, Hollywood projects? And the answer is both yes and. Always at higher level thinking, it's the both and is usually where the answer lies. So yes, humanity in the majority is war-conscious dominant. The vast majority, the common belief is war is inevitable. To solve for peace, prepare for war. That's what the generals tell us. And dutifully, out of fear, citizens pay war taxes, or if you don't, you pay a great price. And rectification through education can happen when planet Earth humanity awakens to fulfillment and justice, law-conscious dominant, like I have in the neighborhood here. We're law-conscious dominant. We trust law to keep us safe. And with that, an age of peace. So to foster perpetual peace in a nation and world, that's our task. And how do we do that? We got to change the story. Confucius, Noam Chomsky. Language, controlling the language. So we have to develop an action plan to raise the money to sell a concept to a other law-based civilization, to a skeptical planet Earth humanity. Can be done. Think how conservatives convinced Middle America to give away all its money to the rich. So global trust building is the major task. To come back to the obstacle I mentioned in the beginning, trust being the first one. There are other obstacles as well, but one at a time. So the objective is to get a global conversation going to build trust in the product, a law-based civilization. We're in the business of peace. It's a business. And our product is a law-based civilization. We will know measures of success when law-based civilization is beginning to make it on TED and CNN. Then we'll know we're winning hearts and minds. The goal, the coming epoch, soon upon us, so the wise people tell us, to be named an age of peace. We can have that if we want it. It turns out to foster peace in a nation and world, it is no different than selling next generation Fords. Quote, some men see things as they are and ask, why? I dream of things that never were, and asked, why not? End of quote. Robert F. Kennedy. And I ask, why not a law-based civilization? Please go to AgeOfPeace250.com. You will see the essay highlighted on the home page. Go there, read other comments, make your comments. This is a conversation, folks, worth having, but it'll only happen if we all get it started. God bless.